So welcome to another episode of Not Just Women Petpreneurs. And my guest today is Sasha Riess. How you doing, Sasha?
Hello, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope you are doing well as well.
You know what? It's a beautiful day out here. I'm in my summer office, so life is good.
There you go.
All right. So let's start off with, how did you get involved in the pet industry?
I was 16 years old working in the vet clinic that was getting, like my mom was saying, like, I'm not quite sure that you will be able to digest the veterinarian work, everyday work. So she just introduced me to her friends that run the vet clinic in Serbia. And then the phone calls, right? Are you grooming dogs? Are you grooming dogs? Are you grooming dogs? And then no one groomed dogs. And I said, maybe I should groom dogs. And then actually the life took from there. I then finished Grooming Academy in Budapest. And from there, the rest is a history.
Okay. So you're saying you're from Serbia. Now, I'm not too familiar with the geography of the area, but I know it's changed.
Okay, yeah, a lot of things change. Yeah,
a lot of things change. So Budapest is Hungary, correct?
Yes, Budapest in Hungary, and Serbia is a little ex-Yugoslavia, part of Yugoslavia. You know, long time ago it was Yugoslavia, and then Serbia, and then from there on, I just started like. Immediately it took off like an international career, and I started showing dogs very soon after that. And you know legacy is like pretty long. I finished like 800 champions all over the world. It was like taking me in unknown places for me, because Serbia was very isolated country, socialist environment. So the dogs, life with the dogs were like elitist how can I say, portion of the society had them. And that opened the door for, reaching places that were unknown to a little child or a little kid of 16. So that's kind of like, it was a very interesting journey.
Okay. So you showed dogs. What kind of dogs were you showing at the time?
Poodles were my signature. And that's what I was like showing dogs all over the world. And then also, the grooming wise, I was very much involved in a Lagotto Romagnolo when the breed was FCI approved, a little truffle guys like, and then how to groom those scruffy dogs to how do you groom dogs without them being groomed, like. So that was kind of like something that was my kind of signature. But the poodles were something that I was really passionate about.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of your poodles, and very jealous.
Thank you. Yeah, I was jealous. I was jealous a lot of. Yeah, I was jealous of knowing, right? And I know then I was always trying to dive into the structure of the dog, into a biomechanic of the dog, into a coat and everything else. So how to. I was like professionally paid to hide the faults and then to express what's good at the dog, and that requires really deep knowledge about the structure of the dog, and then how the dog function, what's good, what's bad, and then when you become good at that, then you actually your job is to hide the faults and exaggerate the good things, or by over exaggerating something, take away attention from something else. It's kind of play this beautiful kind of challenging game with the judge and the audience by enhancing the dog's beauty. And I was just really enjoying that for the long time. And then recently, maybe 5 or 10 years of my present work is kind of not regretting all of that, because by seeing where the dog world is going and how kind of show world maybe is taking too much of this hide and seek interaction in between handlers and professionals and the judges, and then who is responsible. Am I responsible because I'm showing a dog that has a folds that are really can bring, genetic problems to the offspring, because just the dog has a mind for the show and he's great for the show because he's charismatic and he's take attention for everyone watching that dog. But under the code, that dog is completely nonsense. And when you put a beautiful show trim on that dog, if you present that dog with the charisma and take a stage, then the judges would just go after it. And then who is more responsible? The breeders that breed those kind of dogs together, or the judges that let those dogs win, or the handlers that take a hands on that, or the clients that want to put forward the dogs that maybe do not deserve that? So I find the question in my career a lot, because I start asking one question: where is the dog? I did my job perfectly. You said you're jealous on my work, but I know a lot of things, a lot of dogs that I showed, for example, had missing teeth, had problems with the patellas, has problem with dysplasia. But oftentimes having a dog that's problematic at some stage, the people wouldn't care, unfortunately. And now by all of these that we're having today going on with the dog world, I can say that I'm over proud of what I did and the way I did it.
All right. So where do you see that there could be changes made?
That's a very good question to ask in this environment. I mean, to this audience, because that's what I think it's a very important thing, is to draw that line and try to put a focus on a well-being of the dog. And then we oftentimes have this, especially in the grooming industry, we are all about the beauty and the coat and how we can enhance that and how we can put that together. But the question becomes, for me now, and I try to share this with my colleagues, and oftentimes I got judged by putting these questions up, where is that fine line that differentiate care from grooming and maybe overdoing it? Because unfortunately, the grooming as a word is hijacked in a last century, maybe last decade or two, because you can groom dogs to make them look beautiful and nicely. But also, if you read the dictionary, it brings a sexual connotation to interaction with the children to prepare them for some whatever things are coming down the road. So then brings a moral question to be asked, like, are we, not that we need a consent from dog to, because they enjoy interaction with us, but then the question is, do the dog need to interact with the groomer and have a nice relationship with the groomer, or the dog need to interact and have a nice relationship with the owner? And then if the owner, and then when I talk this, then the people would come back to me and say, oh, but you need to brush the dog, you take your dog to a dentist, and you take your children to a dentist, and you brush them the hair and they don't like it and do this. But that's what exactly I'm talking about. Where is the line in between I care about my dog and I have my dog on a table for 4 hours or 5 hours because I want to make him look beautifully groomed for one picture, and then when the dog goes out in the field, it becomes messy and curly, and the rain, showers him, and where is that beautiful puffy coat left? No one cares anymore about that.
You know what? I used to live in the New York area, so I would go to Westminster every now and again, or I tried to go as often as I could. So anyway, 2 instances that got sort of like stick in my mind. Well, there's several, right? For the most part, there's some of the most beautiful dogs I've ever seen. And it was great for a new groomer to see how these dogs were being groomed. But I remember one year at Westminster, and all the labs were fat. I mean, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it may have been just the 1 year, but everybody had put up a fat. They were all yellow labs. They were all fat.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also recall when I was talking to some of the golden retriever breeders, because I had clients who were looking for golden retrievers, wanted a good quality retriever, and had just lost their golden to cancer. So that was like one thing they wanted me to specifically ask was what is the incidence of cancer in their lines. And the second I mentioned that word, they all shut down. Nobody would talk to me.
It's it's kind of like that's the problem. Like we are losing the dog in its essence, and and I think like a lot of industries contribute to that, because by making them prettier than they really are, we hide a lot of things that the people might not be aware of them existing there. And I know that I was teaching my students up until certain time how to hide the faults. But then in order to hide the faults, you need to have on the other side a judge or someone that looks under those faults and say, don't play with the fire, because there is a tiny line where you can actually make this work against you and work against the dog, and work not only against this dog, because once only 1 liter is enough to spread the disease all over the place, because you can't track it anymore, because you don't know who gonna get spayed, who gonna get kids, where those dogs gonna go. And it just, that's how all of these lot of diseases that are out there that the people are not very careful about, now we live as a reality. And you have already in a lot of countries, I would say in Europe mainly, but in a pandemic, we saw that the world is like a little village. So it's just a question and matter of time when something from somewhere gonna hit us here in the States. For example, you are not allowed to shave the face of the poodle anymore in Germany. You can be fined with a $5,000 fine. Your shop can be fined with that fine, because actually they're saying that by shaving the poodle face, you are shaving the whiskers. And the whiskers are part of the nasal system. How is the smelling system, right? Because they hold up the smell and then direct the smell in the nose. So they kind of help direction of the smell. They play a significant role in the smelling and helping dog understand the environment they are in. And now when you are shaving the poodle face, those whoever created the law were actually calling the whiskers shave. They are calling amputation of the part of the organ that actually, I don't know how you call that when you smell, how you call that system, smelling system, how would you call
the nasal cavity?
There you go. The nasal cavity that involves whiskers as a integral part of that, because they are important for that. So now it's not banned because some crazy Green Party said it should be done, and PETA or whoever jumped in the dog shows and they said it should. No, it's already a law. It's already a way that the people that operates there need to, if you want to cut your face with a dog, you said, I need to cut because they go dirty in the water, or you need to hygienic. Yeah, you need to use scissors, and then you need to cut it shortly around the whisker. The whisker shouldn't and cannot be removed from no dog face by law. And you know and again, I need to say that this is not something that Germany invented on its own. It already getting part on because the Germany is more progressive state in the EU, like European Union. And they are pushing that agenda all over the EU. And it's kind of, if it becomes an integral part of the Europe, it should come to the States maybe in 10 years, but it's on its way.
Okay. So now if somebody is looking now for a sound dog, they want a healthy dog. Okay. There's a lot of groomers who will, want to use dogs for competition. What should they be looking for in a breeder than to know that the pup that they're buying is from a sound line?
We are entering the kind of like it's kind of a gamble game. There is no, you don't know how that would be possible, because even if the dog is sound, you have there are a lot of diseases that might just pop up. If you never know when some gene's gonna be activated and what might be a trigger for some disease. So the only way to be very sure about it is to have parents be tested for those diseases and have clear testing on whatever you think it should be, your specific breed tested for. On the other side, the soundness of the dog, in a way, like how, because the structure of the dog its own helps you achieve the beautiful groom, because that's what you want to have. You want to, when you want to choose to compete with any dog, you need two things: dog with a great body and a great coat, because there is no way that you can play no matter what coat. And because I want to say that I saw a lot of time when I was judging a grooming competitions, that the people, the groomers, made an amazing job because they just followed the lines of the dog's body. And they needed to be aware of that, because otherwise the entire picture would, you can show up like an unsounded dog with a great groom, but that's the best you can achieve because out from the body you have. So now if you would follow, there are the certain ritual, there are certain rules that I was always choosing my dogs for the show, and they are based on the fundamental knowledge about the biomechanic and the harmony in the dog structure. We are blessed that those laws are, found by a Russian scientist and a veterinarian, and he was a great mentor of mine. Unfortunately, he's late at the moment, Eugene Yerusalimsky, and we are using his teachings in my seminars, where we talk about biomechanic and the harmony in the dog structure. Those laws apply to every single breed, and especially to the ones that we usually see in the competitions. And that's, for example, how long need to be a back according to the length of the loin and the croup, how deep is the chest according to the length of the top line, and all kind of those things that when you know are the rules and you follow just them, and you see, like, for example, the top line. The top line is a place of the spine that is in between a shoulder and the base of the tail. So that's the top line. And the top line is combined of three portions: the back, the longest one, loin, and the sacrum, the part of the bone. Okay, thank you. The sacrum, okay? And they have a ratio. The ratio is 2-1-1. Length of the back should be 50% of the length of the top line, and the length of the loin and the length of the sacral bone should be 25% each. And it's very easy to follow that rule. So if you go to buy the puppy, first thing you need to check is the top line. Then to check how long is the back. The back is something that starts with the highest point of the shoulder and with the last rib. Everything in between that and that pelvis bone would be a loin, and everything between pelvis bone, that little jump on the top of the croup where the sacrum bone start, until the base of the tail is a sacrum bone. If that's in line in this particular harmony, 2-1-1, then you will, for 100%, has a sure sound dog. But because the breeders are not aware of this, because the majority of this is not a common knowledge in the dog world, you will, for example, you will search by I don't know which kind of tools you need in order to find the dog that will have this proportion in its back. Usually, the dogs have very short back, very long loin, and very short sacrum. That gives them, and that line there gonna ruin entire picture of the body. If you have a short back, you will usually end up having open angulation in the front. You will not have a forward chest. You will have over-angulated dog in the back. You will have all kind of drama. When you start styling that dog, you will have a trouble. The poodle gonna end up being high on leg, long zim body, short neck. No matter which kind of great groomer you are, you won't be able to present a sound dog to a judge. And then it will come up like you are a bad groomer. If you are not placed, you are to start thinking about, oh my God, I didn't place because I'm not groomed. You didn't have what to start with. Your fundamental beginning was off. And no matter how great artist and groomer you are, you might end up having a great scissoring skills. You won't be able to make nothing with that because there is no place for that.
All right.
So I think, sorry?
No. So it's really important that when groomers are competing, that they have the right dog to do that with.
Well, that's one thing, or the other thing is actually to put all of these rules in place. For example, how depth should be a chest? When I'm grooming my dog, how would I know the depth of the chest? It says it should be middle of the dog's height. So the chest should be next to the elbow, and depth of the chest should be in line with elbow, and the elbow should be a half in the middle of the height of the dog, right? And the elbow should be under the highest point of the wither. So I guess like we are in the grooming industry and all of the people can visualize what I'm talking about, even if this is a podcast, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but if they can't visualize what I'm talking about, that might be a problem. Because if you can't visualize what I'm talking about, you won't be able to achieve something that's so natural for the dog structure. And when you don't achieve that, what's so natural for the dog structure, the judge might look at that and we say, oh, it's out of balance. And when I'm judging, when I'm telling to people for me, what does it mean out of balance? Then I explain what does it mean out of balance. For example, length of the top line, depth of the chest is out from the proportion of the only one place where the depth of the chest can be taken in a proportion, and that would be only length of the top line. What does it mean that length of the top line and the depth of the chest are in proportion? That means that they're in a ratio 5:3, and that's a divine proportion. When you know, for example, the groomers would usually combine height of the dog with the length of the dog, and that's where I would expect to find some beauty. But the beauty in the laws of nature, in the divine proportion laws, does not exist in that proportion. You can't find beauty and pleasing opportunity for viewer is now the judge is a viewer, or the audience, or the client, whoever views your art and your dog. If you are focusing your attention on the height of the dog and length of the dog, you can't find the divine proportion because it doesn't exist there. And you need to know, and there are 7 rules, 7 very fundamental rules where the divine proportion exists in the proportion of the dog. And why those divine proportions are important? Because they bring a nature of beauty to be visible. And divine proportion exists in everything. You see someone's face and they say, oh my God, she's beautiful, or he's beautiful. Why? It's not because she's skinny or tall. No, because the face is the length of the nose, the height of the forehead, the ellipses. They all together are, in a ratios of the divine proportion. And it's not Jerusalemsky who was theorizing of this first time. Leonardo da Vinci, Luca Pacioli, all the artists are working on this. You have some arts that are beautiful, and the other arts that oh my God, it's too messy. It's not a style. It's not a style it's a problem. It's a naturality in it. It's a pleasing portion of what pleases our eye when we transcend all the cultural differences and all the taste and everything that we are conditioned to love, or to kind of like part of the growth. Who am I and what's beauty for me? So how do I transition that? How I come to a point where beautiful is beautiful regardless what I think? I need to come to a natural laws of nature. And nature organizes itself in a beauty. And a beauty, you can love rose and you can love liliums or some other flower based on a color preference or based on the taste of your smell preference. But you will never say that any of the flowers is ugly. No flowers are ugly. Why? Because the leaves and the petals, everything is in line with the divine proportion. And I was training my students to learn this, to have these skills when grooming the dogs. And that's a math. If the length of the dog is 5 inches, the depth of the chest need to be 3. If the length of the top line is 15, the depth of the chest need to be 9. And when you kind of play with that, with those numbers, you occasionally start seeing it without measuring anymore. So that's and now when I know those things, when those things were part of my experience, now I know if my dog doesn't have a depth of the chest that matches the divine proportion of the neck, I was able always to fake it. And they would always come and say, oh, it's beautiful, but it's not beautiful. I know it's not beautiful. I know it's fake. And that dog might get a ribbon, and that dog might get the best in show, and that dog might go out and get all of those puppies and everything that oftentimes I feel responsible for. Because if I didn't do my job properly, that dog will never win. How did I contribute to this mess that's out there in the world? That started to bother me. And on one stage, I started to come up with that I think that we should be careful about how many time we spend making something beautiful more than it's really beautiful by doing our job properly.
We're going to take
and maybe, just a second, maybe losing the dog in that process.
All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. And we're back.
Okay.
So
I hope you can follow what I'm talking about. I have a couple of challenges. My accent, I apologize for. And my mind, that's when it comes to these topics, is always passionate. And I maybe just overreact on my passionate, talks about this. And I apologize, but yeah, kind of like.
No, you know what? It is really fascinating. And you make a really good point. I mean, we as groomers, we should be able to look at any given dog and figure out the right way to groom the dog. Am I making sense? We should,
of course.
We should
because
have structure. We should know structure. We should know skin coat.
That's perfect what you said, because we need to have 2 points. First is where I am. That's where the dog is. That's my starting point. And then I have this beauty, that's unbelievable, beautiful picture of perfection that I developed on the screen of my mind by learning, not by going to seminars, improving my skills. Skills has nothing to do with this. This is a hard work. You sitting at home, reading the books, putting the formulas in place, proving that what you see is right. That if you say, oh, this is top line is too short, why is too short? When you say your neck is too short, why? Compared to what is short? To entire dog, it can be short. Because in order for dog to move, you need to have a simple formula. Nose, the head from the nose to the occiput. If you add to that the length of the neck, it always equals length of the top line. Because otherwise the dog wouldn't be able to move. Length of the top line equals length of the neck together with the length of the head. And now you go home, take your measuring tape, take whatever you want and check. And you will be surprised how the nature always never fails. You have only breeds that are problematic with the brachycephaly ones, the short hair dogs, that you can't apply this rule for. But because of that, they are compensated, or actually their body compensates itself with the other kind of like extravagant way of overcoming this obstacle. And then when you know those 2 things, where your dog is, but then you need to know what faults where my dog is off. And where would you look offness of your dog? In only 7 places where the harmony of the dog exists. And all the ones that are familiar with this, what I'm talking about and teaching, they know where to look for these 7 components of the dog creates the harmonious, the beauty of the divine proportion within all of these, as I told you, like a length of the top line and the depth of the chest. And you have 7 places that interact on the same level, 3 to 5, and that's very easy to follow. But it's not because I must come back to again. I discovered this on my seminar, one that I was doing a workshop. And I was telling to the lady that was doing the grooming the poodle, I said, like, here we need to have a round rib cage, because the dog has very flat, and that's usually oftentimes for the poodle, that's retrieving dog, because they used to play with in the water and retrieve the ducks and whatever. That was their purpose, right? And all retrieving dogs, they have a round rib cage, otherwise they wouldn't be able to swim. The flat rib cage is typical for the sighthounds that need to run long distances. But based on the breeding now, usually you would find the poodles that has a flat rib cage. But doesn't matter if the poodle has a flat rib cage. If you know that the poodle should have a round rib cage, then you just make it round. Leave a little more coat on the chest. And I was keep coming there and talking to her, you need to make it round. And I make left side round. I come back and I said, make it round, and she make it flat. I come, okay, let's do my side. It's already rounded. Just take it half, like a micro inch away. Just keep the shape. I came back and she said, like, she make it straight. And I said, Ivar, she don't see it because she doesn't believe it should be that way. And that how I make myself, that becomes my belief system, by learning. In order to learn, oftentimes we need to dislearn what we know is preventing us from growth. And that's what I can't stress enough, that the beautiful picture on a screen in my mind is made of hard, dedicated work of study. It's nothing to do with skill. And on the other side, what I need to match now, those two things, what my dog is on the table that need to be fixed, and how to match that with the perfect image that I have in my mind, I need the skills to put those things together. And what I see people oftentimes doing, either going from seminar to seminar, watching people do something, but all of that time should be spent learning on your own. Become responsible for your own growth, and then study things you don't understand or you don't know. Because oftentimes you go to the seminars, people do, this is how you groom poodle, this is how you groom silky terrier, this is how you groom bichon, or this is how you groom Asian style. That's not true. This is how I'm doing it, and this is how I got there. And I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm telling you, how did I got there? And what you need to do is you need to go through the process, and you're going to be rewarded with your style, with your signature. But the hard work is doing the process. No one could do to learn, because it's boring. But unfortunately, there is no shortcut. And now you have these people that are going to seminars and they're watching groomers, and they get amazed. How easy is that? How beautiful is that? And you go home, you try that at home, and you get disappointed. And now you need a new boost to go to another seminar, watch another groomer. That's oftentimes I was criticized, because my students would come to my seminar. I said, this is how I'm doing it, but this is not what I'm teaching you to do. What you need to do is go through the process. And then the people will come to you to teach it, to see the same process, different outcome. Because we are different. And if I attract clients that want my style, and you have married your own style, the beauty of the style attracts the personality of the client that are exactly ones for you. And when they show up on your shop, you can charge them whatever you want, because you cannot be found on another place. No one can replace you. But the only way to get there is not to mimic anyone, not to look what are the others doing. Do what the other did to become who they are. But no one wants to do that, because that's boring. Reading the books is boring. Doing math is boring. I said to my students, you need to measure with a tape to measure length of the dog, length of the rib cage. If you do that to 100 dogs, you will not need to measure any other dog. It's already become part of your subconsciousness, and you will not be able to see any dog differently than through that prism. And that can be shown. No one can tell you how how it's to be done, you need to find out for yourself. But the good thing is there is a process. And if you follow the process, the outcome will be that perfection of your uniqueness.
You know what? You bring up a really good point, okay? Because one of the things I'm doing now, which is like really important to me, is the next generation of people who can speak, all right, who can educate. And we don't all educate in the same manner. But to be that effective educator, there is steps and there is learning that goes behind it. You can't just put yourself in front of a PowerPoint and say, hey, I'm going to teach. You're not going to be very effective. Or you have the small population that is a natural for it. But doing the work that it takes to get to where you want to be, that's hard work on your part.
And it can be done by someone else. You can't delegate that to someone else, right? You can't just not go. You can just, go somewhere and pay someone like $100, $1,000, spend whatever amount of the money you want, and go somewhere and see someone doing it, and then just go home and expect you're going to do the same.
Exactly.
I mean, it takes too much more than that. And don't make people expect that. That's also the other problem. When you tell to the people, this is how you need to learn to groom dogs, and this is how you groom poodle or this or that, and this is what you put yourself in the position of the God that creates rules and that creates. The people wanted to groom the poodles like me, and I said it's easy. It's very easy. You just need to follow the steps. And then when I lay the steps, then they kind of, oh, I just wanted you to show me how to do it. I said, I can't show you how to do it because I don't know how you're going to do it. It doesn't matter how I hold scissors. It doesn't matter where I'm cutting and how short. What does it mean how short you are making it on the back? I don't know. At this point and today, to this dog, I'm going to make it maybe half an inch. But on the next dog, I don't know, maybe I'm going to use a 4F or I'm going to use a 10 blade, or I don't know, because the dogs vary, their structure vary, the moment of the dog, you never know, do you have a beach that is maybe in a season, so the coat doesn't stand, so you can't leave it long because everything going to fall off. So when you go after those how long or how, I don't know, I don't care. And I don't want you to care. Because if you care about what I'm doing here, then you have a big problem. And the problem is actually that you are far away from the essence of the learning. And you need to go from the learner to a knower. And then only the knower can apply the knowledge because he owns the knowledge. If you delegate that to someone else, for example, you are my teacher, and I come there, and I expect you to be what I should be, and then I get angry at you because I'm not, that's not fair. It's not fair on you, but it's oftentimes the student and the teacher get entangled in these daddy mommy issues, because that's kind of oftentimes triggers authority, teaching, you should do this, and then I see my grooming teacher and I feel my mom on my back, I just no. That's kind of where the structure of the teaching gets in place, because the students should be always inspired to be self-seekers. And then if you are inspired to be self-seeker, you need to become one thing, that's self-confidence. That oftentimes, we are choosing to groom dogs and to be in the dog place because we are not self-confident. We cannot go and do a business that requires people. That's oftentimes the problem of the grooming business, because the groomers are introverts by its nature. You wouldn't get an idea of becoming a dog groomer if you are not introvert. So now a lot of time, in order for you to become a speaker in the industry, you need to turn that around. Oftentimes, and the only way to make money in this industry is not while you're having a shop, but when you build up the brand, when the people know that it can be done like you're still making, barely living. Because even if you have money, you won't be able to enjoy it. Because there is so many times that the people are overburned. Where is the money in the grooming industry? In teaching. Who wants to learn from you if you left no legacy? in the industry or in something. So you need to make yourself be brand. And while branding a brand and the name, oftentimes that's a path of the devil. Because I remember how many times my electricity was cut off, how my bills are not paid on time, but I was the best groomer in the world that people want to be like. I said, that's not how it works. I'm just waiting my time that I can put all of this in use and I can finally start making money the moment I start teach. But in order for that to happen, I need to change my personality from introvert to extrovert, to be able to communicate with the people, because that's why we don't have any good business skills, because we don't interact well with the people. So the client has a dog because they can do it with the people. We do the business because we can do it with the people, but our business success depends on the client and groomer interaction. It's nothing to do with the dog. And that's the point of this. That's the hardest point to solve. Our business success has nothing to do with the dog. If you have a groomer that has the skills of talking and communicating, he can be a less than an average groomer to make millions because the people like him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I will proudly own the fact that I was a pet groomer. Okay. I groomed pets. So nice little puppy cuts, but I did really well because I interacted well with my clients. I interacted well with the people that who were paying me money.
It's not how can I say? I can sign that it's not every industry average, unfortunately. And I know when the students want to enroll my academy, the first thing they say, why you are coming to groom dogs? He said, I hate people. I can't stand people. I want to work with dogs. And that's true. It was true for me. I hated people. I couldn't stand people. But that, and you know why? In order for me to overcome that obstacle, I said that this is going to be my problem in the life. I need to overcome it because otherwise I can't make a career in this industry that I want. Being in social country, like you don't have a lot of tools, but I have one. I become a sales representative for the local company that sold pots. So I was forced to do the grooming in the morning and go sell the pots, not to make money on pots, but to start talking to a people. Hello, my name is Sasha Riess, and I'm a proud representative of Scepter International company, whatever they are selling, and this is beautiful, and if you cook in these pots, you won't have cancer. So it's kind of me interacting with the people, and that led me to discover my beautiful voice, and I ended up being an opera singer. Not to go around. Yeah, I was.
Okay, so let's digress a little bit. You're an opera singer. Tell me a little bit about that.
I was an opera singer for that was opera was my passion and singing is my passion. And I was, how old I was? 21 years old when I actually started to have singing lessons. Just because I wanted to learn how to speak nicely, right? So I was always looking to fix my skills that I was aware I don't have. And then I would always find someone to teach me something. And obviously, you need to go out from the industry to have these things fixed, right? So I find an opera singer by, where to go to find an opera? Probably in the opera house. So I went to the opera house and I knocked on the ticket sale. Where is it? And I said, is there anyone that gives opera singing classes? And then the lady was very nice. She said, yes, my mother-in-law does that. And she gave me a number. I called her next day. I was there and she said, oh my God, it's beautiful. So she introduced me to her colleague that was director in the Serbian National Theatre in my hometown. And I was accepted first in a choir and later on as a solist. And I had a wonderful, amazing career in the theater. I met my wife that later became a mother of my beautiful 2 kids. So you never know, but what you need to put yourself on is that self-discovery. And as you will fix the faults of the dog, you need to fix your own faults by first becoming aware of them. So I encourage everyone to look for the other skills that not only scissoring skill can make you a great groomer, Maybe it will make you a great groomer, but you need a lot of skills to become a successful groomer. And on top of that, you need much more skills to become a rich groomer. And it's nothing to do with how great you groom your dogs. And that's why I was, it was a secondary outcome of me wanting to fix my communication skills, because I had a freeze. When I come in front of the people, I would freeze. So I needed to overcome that somehow. And now when I'm telling you that I'm introvert still, but all of this that I'm talking and the way I interact and passionate, when I click, then it's completely other portion of me that does exist. I just need to unleash it. And I learned the skills how to do that. You say, hi, how are you? How did you came? And then I started with my veterinarian thing, and then something triggered. When you put in the question about divine proportion, I flipped out, and that's it. You need a trigger. And then you wait for the trigger. And if you would look at this interview, you would see the engagement of me in the beginning and unfold, and then, but those are skill developed, and they has nothing to do with the grooming industry, but unnecessary, very necessary for your overall self-image of yourself, and then to present yourself to the audience, whoever the audience is.
All right, so what are you doing now? I know you're now in Florida, correct?
Yep, I'm in Florida. That's amazing. I'm trying to kind of like pay the price for the mess I did. I must be really honest. The driving force what I have now is that I just want to be sure that in this way of me doing this high-end grooming and this show handling will pay the price of my contribution to the overall damage to the dog world that humans did. And I have my piece in that. And since I was handling like 800 champions, those dogs has like unlimited number of the puppies, and for their suffering on a lot of end, I own a responsibility. So with that said, can I change time in back? No. Would I do it again? I'm not sure at this point. Probably I would, because the conscious level I had when I was 16 years old, when doing all of that, traveling with the private jets around the globe, being paid enormous money to do my job, I was just enjoying it, the luxury of the lifestyle and everything. But the outcome of that, I own to the dogs a lot. And now what I'm trying to do is exactly how the world would look like, and how should we introduce the pet care industry 2.0 that has not a dog's coat in focus, but a dog's well-being. And how the grooming or the care, should we change the word grooming in something else? Because unfortunately it was hijacked to some sort of sexual assault of the children. And when you have connection that vibrates in the name, you bring all of that vibration on whatever you do. So you can say, oh, but it's nothing to do with it, but it's called the same. So how do we take care about dogs, but don't overstep the line of doing it too much? And then what is it too much? Who is there to enjoy? Because I must tell you, vet science is something, and the canine behavior and the canine communication is something that always was so the dogs were working for me because they loved me. They paid respect to me the way I treated my dogs. So I never used the safety loop. My dogs were staying as much as I needed. They were laying down when I needed, and I never forced them to do anything. So canine communication is something that I'm great at. And I see a lot of time people would just perform their job to the dogs that doesn't like to be groomed, because that's our job. And I'm telling to myself, wouldn't it be nicer if you fix the dog first and bring him to a point to enjoy grooming and then take him as a client? How would this world look like? You can do to dog anything, and there is a certain line when the dog breaks, and you can do to them anything you want. The question becomes, how moral is that? How moral is that? And how much when you know that, you have that instant reaction of the dog when exposed to the fear. It's three things: fly away, freeze, or attack. So if the dogs are attacking us, what we want to do? We want to cause some other sort of impact to the dog to put him in a freeze mode, because then he's going to be quiet. But the question becomes, shouldn't we work something out else first without putting him in a freeze mode just to do our job right? Because we are paid for that. So I'm paid to do on the dog what my clients expect me to do, regardless how the dog wanna feel during the treatment. So I have a knowledge, I have a skills, I can put any dog in a freeze mode. I don't want to do that anymore. No, for no price. That's why I think that this 2.0 pet care service and industry that must unfold from what we know now. And I can't stress enough to tell to the people, you need to open your eyes and have a grooming set for the success in next or whatever industry this should learn, become, not to learn from 1800s and preserve it where it was 100 years ago, but take it in further, inimaginable, and open yourself to the relationship with the humans that suffer the same problem that we have, and that's openness to a people. Because even if we are rich by doing this job, am I in a trustworthy relationship with my partner? Do I have a good connection with my kids? Is it everything okay with my health? What is the price I needed to pay to be successful in this industry? And as you know, as I know too, because I have a lot of friends around the globe, the price a lot of them are willing to pay to stay on this path is tremendous and very high. And unfortunately, day after day after day, I hear about the people breaking on, passing away, breaking with the spouses, having difficulties to hold the family and a relationship. Shouldn't be like that. Some other skills are needed so we don't get overburned. It's nothing to do with the price and the money, because the price and the money is the outcome of the self-image. Self-image is a self-respect. Self-respect, you know where it's practiced? Because down this road, I become a family constellation therapist as well. How did you do that? Because I needed to fix my shit, excuse my language. I can't come talk to my students and understand the pain they are going through when they're choosing a grooming industry. Because I know the pain they're going through. I went through the abusive childhood and bullied childhood. I know that I couldn't have friends in a human faces. I can tell you that I came to the veterinarian school and I was going there and answered the phone. But that deep, if you step back, it was a little wounded, hurted child that no one wants around. Why did I went to, do the apprenticeship into a veterinarian clinic with 16 years old? Why I wouldn't play with the kids and, enjoy the childhood? Because I didn't want to. I needed a job to run away to the safe place, to the safeguard, into hug of the animals. But don't think that the clients are not doing the same, that your colleagues are not doing the same. We are all hurted. That's why we are gathered in this industry. And if you get open to yourself, you're going to find, is it a mother, father, spouse, brother, sister, unknown, unexplainable feeling of someone is within me or around me. I can't sleep, I can't eat, I must eat, I overeat, I overdrink, I overdrug. All of that is very common to the pet care space. And, the suicidal rate in a pet care space is the most above among any other industries in the world. Veterinarians and the groomers just after them. Why? Because we just never happened to heal the wounds that actually drove us here. And don't forget that should be something that we can commit to anything. We can't help anyone if we can help ourselves.
Oh, that's so true. So, Sasha.
Oh, I'm sorry if I took it to the left or right too much, or, away from the this.
There is like there's no script here. Okay, the interview goes where it goes, but we are coming up on the hour, and how do people get a hold of you? So if they're interested in your school or your education, how would someone get a hold of you?
It's very simple. It's my webpage is pureloveandharmony.com. Pure love and harmony. That's what I try to be moving on, or sashariess.com. And then I think from there you can see the portfolio and things that I try to communicate with the people. And I think that next phase of the grooming industry, that's my envisioning the world, would be that actually we provide this environment of the pet care, pet space that's all encompassing. It's not just cutting the coat, it's because you can't cut the coat if dog is not calm on the table, if the dog doesn't enjoy it. So it's include the canine communication from the right angle. And on the other side, the nutrition. All three those parts, if not integral and holistically approached, you can do your job properly. So I think the future would be not the world for not to look at us as some coat cutters, that they don't listen for nothing, not even the brushing recommendations. We need to evolve in something respected and valued. And I think the pet care space 2.0 going to be owned by the people that are able and willing to make this shift from I'm cutting the coat into I become interesting in the holistic approach of the dog beauty that radiates from within.
Awesome. Awesome. So Sasha, thank you so much for taking time out of your day for this interview. I really appreciate it. And
thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be on your podcast, and I'm really thrilled, and thank you so much for thinking of me and doing this.
All right, so everybody join us next week when I interview someone else making a difference in the pet industry.